Here's your midweek edition of InfoHub. In our headlines, President Granger joins CARICOM heads of government in Barbados to discuss fast-tracking progress and development in the Caribbean community. The move to reorganize the sugar industry prompted the allocation of billions to address issues such as workers' severance and government taking steps to ensure full compliance with CFATF recommendations before 2022. Now for the details of these stories and more. President David Granger joins CARICOM heads of government in Barbados for the 9th meeting of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on the CARICOM Single Market and Economy with the aim of fast-tracking progress and development in the Caribbean community. With our first report, here's Anira Khan.
President Granger is attending the meeting in Barbados. Prime Minister and Chair of the meeting, Mia Montley, stated that since the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, Jamaica, the Caribbean people's confidence has been renewed in the CSME project, which seeks to address a number of issues affecting the Caribbean community.
We can allow it to make a definable difference in their lives. The signing of the Protocol on Contingent Rights was the first. The fact that COFA has met twice in the last 4 months, having not met for 5 years, is also a signal of our intention to be serious about the region's business.
Prime Minister Montley reiterated the committee's devotion to meeting CSME's demands.
We remain committed to being able to identify how best we can reach the single market in single domestic space in transport and the single domestic space in communications.
CARICOM General Secretary Erwin LaRocque stated that the subcommittee provides political oversight and strategic direction to advance the CSME.
Last July, the Conference of Heads of Government in Montego Bay agreed that there should be more frequent meetings of the subcommittee in recognition of the need for more intense focus on the CSME. These more regular sessions will keep the developments and progress under review and seek to address the challenges on an ongoing basis. It is also a clear signal from the community's leadership of the commitment to make the CSME more effective.
For InfoHub, Anira Khan.
In observance of Raksha Bandhan, Sister Usha from the Brahma Kumaris movement paid a courtesy call on Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu and his wife on Monday, September 3, at the official residence of the Prime Minister, Main Street. Prime Minister Nagamutu, who is currently performing the duties of the President, expressed appreciation to Sister Usha for her visit, together with other sisters from the Brahma Kumaris Center in Guyana. He also relayed his commitment to public duty and service to humanity. As Guyanese prepare to head to the polls this November for local government elections, the following report cites the head of state reminding citizens of the importance of local democratic organs to the community and national development.
At the National Conference of Local Democratic Organs July last, the head of state reminded that NDCs and municipalities are responsible for providing critical services to residents. These include garbage disposal and sanitation, infrastructure development, maintenance, drainage, and irrigation.
These are demanding duties. These are vast responsibilities. But these functions require collaboration, they require cooperation, and they require coordination between the various local government organs and central government. They require commitment by all, and at all levels of government and society. Local government organs must deliver quality public services to residents. Those public services are vital to improving the living and working conditions within neighborhoods and villages.
Local government elections will be held on November 12th. Given the important role that local democratic organs play in ensuring residents enjoy the good life, all are encouraged to participate. The head of state also reiterated the importance of communities having village improvement plans.
Every village should have a VIP. These VIPs should be blueprints for improving the delivery of services in communities countrywide. Every VIP must address as a priority the 4 major categories of services.
According to Minister of Communities Ronald Bulkand, local government in Guyana has been catapulted to its rightful position as a strategic partner in national development. He noted that after an absence of several decades under the previous administration, local government elections are finally getting the attention they deserve. This year's election is the second time constitutionally due local government elections will be held under the coalition government. Paul McAdam, InfoHub.
Paul McAdam now tells us that the move to reorganize the sugar industry prompted the allocation of billions through the national budget to address issues such as workers' severance.
These sums were needed as the government began implementing plans to return the sugar industry to a state of profitability after years of billion-dollar bailouts. To date, redundant workers have been paid at least 50% of the severance due to them, whilst it is expected that the remaining payouts can be achieved by year-end. Prime Minister Moses Nagamootoo reminded that the government understands its responsibility and the need to save at least 10,000 jobs.
It's a requirement of the law, and at no time did we ever even thought that severance would not be paid. But we had a situation where Gaisuco was bankrupted. Gaisuco has no finances of its own. And the president, in addressing the National Assembly, did say that since 2011, $48 billion had been pumped into Gaisuco to help to pay wages to the sugar workers. And $32 billion of that amount came when we got into the government from 2015.
The inherited $82 billion Gaisuco debt prompted the government to adjust its fiscal spending and implement budgetary measures to stop the hemorrhaging of the national coffers by the sector. An initial $500 million was allocated for sugar workers' severance. This was then increased by $1.7 billion to pay at least half of the severance by the end of January and the remainder by the end of the year. This sum was further increased by the government, as Agriculture Minister Noel Holder explained.
Thought that they would be able to consider all the employees whose severance was $500,000 or less, which should be able to be paid full. That figure is 1,600 and above 1,600 workers. So immediately 1/3 of the 4,763 workers would have been totally paid off as severance. So that's where we are now.
It is calculated that $4.5 billion will be used to pay all of the 4,763 Gaisuco workers. At the end of 2016, 4 estates were closed to reduce the billions that consecutive governments poured into the industry in an attempt to keep it afloat. Paul McAdam, InfoHub.
Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams is assuring that government is taking steps to ensure full compliance with the anti-money laundering recommendations before mutual evaluation in 2022. Stacey Carmichael has details.
Guyana comes up for assessment by the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, CFATF, in 2022. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams' senior counsel said it is imperative that the supervisory bodies and reporting agencies operate with a high level of efficiency.
We have had a national risk assessment from which we pull out an action plan. We've had a recent meeting, I think it was at Bank of Guyana, and so that the various representatives would have been able to explain how the plan is going in terms of execution. And we have until 2022. So obviously you don't wait until then. This fourth round is even harsher than the third round.
The fourth round, A.G. Williams described as being more resource intensive, hence the need to complete a lot of work before 2022. The registries are currently updating information on companies with an emphasis on beneficial ownership.
They have to be fit and proper. We have to put them in order in terms of the information that they're supposed to have in relation to companies and other legal arrangements. So the whole emphasis on beneficial ownership, that is, the need to know who is the actual owner of legal arrangements and legal bodies. So there's a lot of work to be done. And of course, the question of effectiveness with the FIU, SOCU, the DPP, and our judiciary, the need to generate suspicious transaction reports. These reports are analyzed by FIU and sent to SOCU. And the question of SOCU doing investigations that could transpose into prosecutions.
The Attorney General pointed to the need for convictions as part of the CFATF requirements. He said thus far many other jurisdictions have failed in this regard. The Attorney General noted, however, that convictions are dependent on the court of law. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
The Ministry of Education and the Guyana Teachers Union are scheduled to hold conciliation talks on Thursday, September 6. The Department of Labor, by way of letter, has notified both parties of the meeting to be held in the boardroom of the Labor Department at 13 hours 30. The union is proposing a 40% increase in salary for 2016, 45% in 2017, 50% in 2018, 50% in 2019, and 50% in 2020. Be granted to all categories of teachers and educators for the years 2016 through 2020. The ministry's initial counterproposal states that the government will make available $700 million to facilitate an increase in salaries for all teachers based on the current salary scale and the previously proposed $200 million for the vouching for 2018. In the meantime, the ministry's contingency plan has been activated following strike action taken by the teachers' union. A total of $10 million in checks was today presented to the organizers of the first Guyana Expo. This comes as the Guyana Office for Investment, Ministry of Business and other stakeholders prepare to host a business-to-business exposition this month end. Crystal Stahl tells us more.
Minister of Business Dominic Gaskin, who witnessed the presentation of checks, was appreciative for the support for the event.
Very early in the game, you came on board, and we were, without your sponsorship, this event could not have been possible. We don't have seed capital to really pull off an event such as this. It is not a money-making event. We wanted to deliver on its objectives in the first instance. Once we have it fine-tuned and we get it right, then we can look at the financial sustainability of the event going forward.
Minister Gaskin said the government anticipates the exposition becoming a signature event and benefiting export-ready businesses both locally and throughout the Caribbean.
We intend to hold Guyana on a more regular basis, and we intend to continuously improve the outcome of the event. This is the inaugural event. No one can predict the outcomes. We have a stated set of objectives which we intend to meet through this event.
A platinum sponsor for the event is Guyana Telephone and Telegraph Chief Executive Officer Justin Ned.
We were first to come on board because we believe that our country and our economy needs stuff like this to really highlight and showcase what businesses are doing. And at GTT, we're at the forefront of innovating and pioneering new ways of doing things.
Event organizer Tamika Singh said the committee is still in the process of collecting funds from other sponsors. Over 50 exhibitors will showcase their products and services at Guyana's first ever business-to-business exposition on September 19 to 22 at the Marriott Hotel. Reporting for InfoHub, Crystal Stahl.
In our next report, we find out how 22 parents of special needs children from across the country today benefited from a one-day support group workshop.
Director of Disability and Rehabilitation Service attached to the Ministry of Public Health, Dr. Ariane Mangar, said the workshop targets mostly parents with children who have microcephaly. This is a condition in which the brain does not develop properly, resulting in an abnormal smallness of the head.
And it consists mainly of mothers who would have had children with microcephaly. I don't know if the public knows, but in Guyana here we had at least 20 children born with microcephaly. So this is a lifelong disability these children will go through. So with that, we are trying to support the parents with that. The outcome is just to give them some support, because having a disabled child is a hard task. To cope with that every day, you have to do everything for that child in a lot of cases, and that could be very frustrating and hard on parents, and not only financially but emotionally. So today we're giving them the emotional support.
Parents welcomed the program, explaining that it will assist them to cope and understand ways to better care for their children.
Well, I have my friend, I explained my problem to him, and he's telling me that there is a rehabilitation center in Georgetown and that we should come, and that's it. We went there and now we're here. I expect that it's going to help us a great lot in coping with our child and bringing up like any other child.
The workshop is trying with the child, we're doing the best with him, with the girl, but for me, like nothing really not changing. Because it's one time a week I care on her, but I just try to do the same therapies home, like exercise or rub her up and stuff.
The workshop is a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Public Health and the Guyana Physiotherapy Association in observance of World Physical Therapy Day. This will be observed on Saturday, September 8th. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
And in our final report for today, InfoHub's infrastructure correspondent Renetta LaFleur traveled to Region 6, where the $1.2 billion East Bank Barabbas Road project is nearing completion. Here's that report.
Resident engineer Joel Tucker said despite challenges with the major rains, the project will be completed by the end of the year.
Presently, we're actually 50% in terms of asphalt placed. From the last time we spoke, we had only managed to pave about 400 meters of roadway in Everton. To date, we've now advanced that to about 2.1 kilometers, stretching from Everton through Edinburgh, and we've managed to complete the section in Islington.
Some 1.9 kilometers of base layer in Glasgow and the final asphaltic layer are slated for completion. Tucker said works on bridges and culverts are moving apace.
Two of the structures near 90% completion. One is 100% completed. That's the one at the Baptist Turn location at the end of Edinburgh. And one in Glasgow, which is a culvert, is I would say about 90% completed. The remaining structures would be the bridges at Gay Park and Edinburgh. And you would see today on the construction, we're now driving piles at the Everton location. That's scheduled to be completed in November.
120 LED streetlights were also installed between Stanleyton and Everton Village in August. This multi-million-dollar venture is being executed by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure's Special Project Unit, utilizing its own equipment and employing persons from the East Bank Barabbas area. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
We leave you now with your bridge and weather reports. Goodbye.